Hallo, welkom hier so by Farmboek. Okay, ons is hier by Universiteit van Pretoria se Beef Up Challenge saam met King Price Agri Gauteng en Vleis Sentraal. 'n Paar ander ons op wat hier betrokke is, maar ek kan nooit almal onthou nie. So, ons praat met Candice van die Nyalas. Ons gaan 'n bietjie uitvind hulle beeste, wat doen hulle hierso ensovoorts. So, ons luister. Candice, hoe gaan dit?
Goed, dankie met jou.
Nee, wat doodstil rustig. Sê gou vir my, julle is hier deel van die Beef Up Challenge. Is 'n finale jaar studente, nee?
Ja, 4de jaar.
4de jaar, and just give me a quick summary. You guys are in the animal sciences, more the feed nutritional side.
Yes, the feed nutritional, the physiology, the pretty much the nutrition is the main sort of aspect of our degree, especially in the final year. And we've been privileged enough to be allowed this opportunity to get some practical hands-on experience with these cows. We've got 2 pens. Our pen 13 is all Brahman.
Yeah.
And our pen 12, we've got 1 Brahman, we've got, I think, 2 Boron, 1 Simmental cross, and 2 other crosses that we are not.
So 'n lekker gemixte.
Ja, 'n lekker gemeng.
'n lekker gemengde batch hierso.
Ja.
En sê gou vir my in terme van julle die eerste weging wat julle gehad het so 'n paar weke terug. Wat was julle gemiddelde weight gain gewees op hulle omtrent?
So for this pen, they're a bit smaller. Their average daily gain was 1.02 kilograms a day.
Yep.
But this was about a month ago.
Yeah.
And then that pen over there, their average daily gain was about 1.23 kilograms a day. So we've just weighed them now, so we're waiting to see what the new weights are going to be. So that's quite exciting.
Hoe dit gelyk op die oog af vir julle?
So ours were a lot smaller coming in to the feedlot compared to some of the other groups. So we've sort of been a bit behind them on the gains. Our overall weights were a lot lower than theirs. We were sort of one of the last groups, sort of second last, third last. But we're hoping after this weighing that we can bring it up a little bit. They haven't quite compared on average daily gains. They've just been comparing so far on the weights. And with the mix of breeds, we have to compare on average daily gains because it's obviously some of the breeds are bigger and came in at different ages. Like we've got some of the groups have heifers, so they came in at much lower weights. So when we compare average daily gains, hopefully we'll get a better sort of idea of who's where.
Gaan baie interessant wees. So sê vir my wat julle op hierdie stadium voer. Ek sien hier net van Nutri 6190. So verduidelik my net vinnig wat se tipe van voer is dit en hoekom gee julle dit op hierdie stadium?
Okay, well the 6190 is not actually ours. That's someone else's.
Oh, someone else's, yeah.
We've got 6195 in pen 12.
Yeah.
So it starts off with we started off with 2 weeks of the starter. So first we converted them onto the starter from with roughage. So we had to go and mill hay on the small stock.
Yeah.
We had to go and mill hay so that we could mix it in, just so that we could adapt their rumen for the first 2 weeks, because they hadn't come from concentrated diets, so their rumen wasn't adapted to the high energy, high protein. So we adapted them for 2 weeks, and then once they were on the starter, we then adapted them. Now we've adapted them to the grower. That we adapted over, I think it was a week. So now, hopefully on the grower, they'll pick up a lot more weight compared to the first sort of month that they were here. It's a lot higher, a lot lower in roughage content and a lot higher in proteins, that their protein deposition can increase. Ultimately, we want muscle for meat, so that's what we're aiming for these guys. And then, interestingly, on this group over here, pen 13, we're using a complete beef finisher. So I think I don't know whether it's necessarily experimental, but I know that it's not commonly used in feedlots. Yeah. But we feed them the same ration throughout the entire trial.
So the yellow lot.
Yeah, so we started them off, converted them onto this from the roughage as soon as they got here, and that's what they're going to be eating until they leave. They don't go on to starter, grower, finisher. They're just fed this complete beef finish.
Sê vir my, en het julle nou self besluit wat se tipe voer julle hulle wil gee, of het julle dit saam met Nutri Feeds besluit?
We did it with Nutri Feeds, so they gave us the sort of composition of each of the feeds. We got sent spreadsheets that told us what was in each of the feeds. I mean, other groups are using complete different ones to us, but one group is using the same of each of them for us. So we got given a list, and we had, let's say there's 10 10 groups, but there's 20 different pens. Each group could only use a certain one. So we sort of had the first person shouted they want this one, and then they got that one. So they look at what they think is going to be the most effective growth-wise from the nutrient content, and so that's where you have to use your sort of what you've learnt in your degree so far. So they did that. So we actually we picked I think 3 times before we got our ones, and then we only got the ones that we sort of wanted later on. But some of the groups got their immediate ones. So.
En dan is daar julle gee net vir hulle basies hierdie goeders en hulle eet soveel soos wat hulle wil en al die goed, of het julle hulle ransoneer hulle op 'n daaglikse basis dat hulle net 'n sekere hoeveelheid kry?
So there's different sort of feeding systems. You get the slick bunk system where you want them to sort of eat all the way to the end of the feed, and then you get the one where you feed them enough food and they eat when they want.
Yeah.
So we sort of doing it because you don't want to waste the feed once they're done, because they are quite selective in their feeding.
Yeah.
Some of the pens, especially the one next door to ours, actually, they've eaten all of the roughage out of theirs, and they just leave certain aspects of the concentrate. So the little ground pieces, they've eaten all of the grass, the mulled hay, and they just eat. So they just eat that and they leave everything else. So sort of when they're getting to the bottom. So we've been told we can't leave the leftover in the feed, so we take it out and that's wastage. So we put it in big bags here.
But even if you mix that then with the second batch, as hy tweede keer inkom, nog steeds eet hulle nog steeds uit.
No, they still eat most of the roughage out of it, but ours are sort of okay when it comes to that. So we're just sort of using it to our discretion.
Yeah.
But they don't want us to use that because it changes then the composition of the entire feed. Because then the one day they're eating more roughage, the next day they're eating more concentrate. So we're trying to keep it very constant. So we sort of monitor from day to day how much they eat, and then we'll feed. If they eat all of it the one day, then we'll feed a little bit more the next day, and if they don't eat all of it that day, then we'll feed a little bit less. But you have to monitor. You sort of change about 1 kilogram per cow per day. However it's going, you have to monitor and use your discretion.
Ja. Baie interessant.
Ja.
Candice, sterkte en dankie.
Thank you.
Right, so dis Candice van die Nyalas hier by Universiteit van Pretoria se Beef Up Challenge saam met King Price Agri Gauteng. Ja, interessant dat hulle besig is hiermee. Ons gaan die resultate dophou en dan kyk ons by einde van die dag en laat doen ons julle hoe die goeders gedoen hierso. Dis van die Universiteit van Pretoria af. Tot volgende keer. Groete.